welcome back to my video. So today I'm going to tell you about how I told my mom and dad I was pregnant. So let's get into it. So I remember finding the guy I was dating at the time on the internet, which is very scary sometimes. So I don't recommend doing that or getting pregnant at a young age. But no one told me those. So I went ahead and dated the guy off the internet. He went to a school that was in our district, and which is known as the trouble school. And when we got together, we were together for a while, and I got pregnant. That happened with me going to the hospital. I was on antibiotics. I was on 4 different forms of birth control due to endometriosis, which is a long thing. Y'all can look it up if y'all want. But I suffer with endometriosis, so I had to go through induced menopause. So I was on the NuvaRing, I was on the Depo-Provera shot, I was on the pill, and I was on the I can't think of it. The next one on. The one that goes in the arm. And I remember my period. I didn't have a period in August. I didn't have a period in September. And I didn't have a period in October. So I thought it was the best time to tell my mother I was pregnant. So she comes in, she wakes me up. I was thinking about, how am I going to tell her? When do I need to tell her? How am I going to be it? You know, what's going to happen? So I remember sitting there, and I told my Mom, come sit down with me. You know, I got to get your brothers up. You know, I don't have time for this. What do you want? This can wait till later. I'm busy. I gotta go. Like, either you're gonna tell me now or goodbye. And I was like, well, I do need to tell you now. You know, I can't tell you later. It's not a good idea to tell you later. Which I was already in so much trouble with her because I was going to an alternative school. I was in so much trouble. Which I don't regret getting in trouble because, like, it didn't faze me any. But I ended up telling my mom, I was like, well, I didn't get my period last month, and it was already November. And I just remember telling her, I didn't get my period last month. And ever since August. Which, FYI, is not the best way to tell your mother that you're pregnant. And at this time, my pregnancy test, the ones I had taken, came back negative. So I didn't even think, like, I knew I was pregnant, but I didn't think I was. But when I told my mom, she walked out of my room, didn't say nothing. Which, when you have an Italian family member who is your mother, to be precise, and your mother just walks out of the room, that's probably about the time where you're sitting there like, let me go find the shovel and dig my own grave. I go ahead and put myself in it and then bury myself alive. Because that is the feeling you get left with when you know, like, ooh, they mad. Let me just stay away from them. And going to school, my brother's trying to say something to me, and I just remembered my mom was driving, and she gives this look, and she's driving, like, still driving straight, and it was like, I think I was talking to my brothers, or they were talking to me or something, but that was the look of, shut your mouth and don't say nothing, because I'm about to kill you type look. And the Italians pull that off very well. And that was a scary moment for me. But at this moment, like, my dad, he didn't know at all. But when I told him, like, I came home from school and my mom was like, or it was like 2 weeks later when I came home from school, actually. My mom did not say nothing to me. So she went without speaking to me. Wouldn't, like, I was exiled or kicked out of my, like, communicational family for a whole 2 weeks. Like, I wasn't allowed to say nothing. I wasn't allowed to talk about it. Like, my mom just did not want to talk to me, see me, hear me, be near me for a whole 2 weeks. That's how mad she was. And she got a pregnancy test and didn't believe me. And I went and the pregnancy test, I saw instantly, you know, that was the only positive pregnancy test I have had my whole pregnancy. And that's actually kind of funny because I gave birth and my pregnancy test still came back negative. But that was the one time it came back positive. And I'm just sitting there, I'm like, just looking at my test like, huh, it's actually positive. And I remember just sitting there holding my belly, and I went out to the living room to go get my mom, and I brought her, told her, I was like, what's in the counter? I was like, I'm gonna go sit in my room. She's like, no, you're not, you're gonna come in here. And I was like, okay. Well, I blocked the door so I could get the hell out of there when she realized it was positive and not negative. And I just remember my mom sitting there and she's looking at the test like, huh, it says not pregnant, thank God. I was like, oh. And what happened is there was a plus and then there's a minus or whatever in the second part. And when she looked at it, I was like, Mom, that's a very faded positive sign. Like, I could tell it was positive right away. And she looks at me, she goes, you better get the fuck out of my face then, but because you're about to be fucking dead. Yes, ma'am. And I go right off to my room. And after that, it was scary. And then my mom took me to go get an ultrasound. And when she saw the ultrasound, her heart melted. Like, she fell in love with that baby. And my son is 5 years old and he's off to kindergarten now, and he's beautiful. He's a beautiful little boy. But when I told my dad, I wanted to make sure I had the ultrasound first. Just because second pregnancy, my first pregnancy, my baby passed away. I had a miscarriage. My second pregnancy was my son, and you know, him sitting there seeing me hurt for my first ultrasound, it was devastating and it hurt me even more. So my recovery for that, like going through the miscarriage, my depression was so bad. I had to see, like, I had to go for a mental examination for a psych eval because that's how bad it hurt me. And I ended up having to take some official counseling for it. I had to go to an outside psych ward where you go there during the day to get help for it, and it hurt me hard because that was my dad who was watching me suffer, where I was watching him suffer. I had just gone through this huge rape, and I ended up miscarrying a baby from it. You know, I was broken. I was so broken. I didn't know what to do. There was no hope for me, and they saw that. But I didn't want to see my dad go through that a second time. So I waited till I told him, which I waited till I had the ultrasound, which my son came back and he had a perfect heartbeat. my son, he was perfect in his ultrasound. He was the right size, right height, right weight for it, perfect heartbeat. And I just remember thinking, alright, now I can tell Dad. Like, now Dad can know. And when I told him, he was like, oh my God, this is great. This is fantastic. Like, I'm so happy for you. And I remember my mom looking at him like, I'm gonna effing kill you. Like, you're okay with her having a baby? Like, come on, John. Like, say something else. Like, you can't be happy for her. Be angry. And my dad was like, I can't be angry with her. Like, she's pregnant. She's bringing a baby into the world one way or another. And I love my dad for that. Because he's from England. So in England, they support one another. So he understood, like, where I was coming from. Where the Italian side of the family, they don't have kids at a really young age. They're more settled and experienced in life. So going from like two different areas, bringing the England side, the English side, and the Italian side into our family, I knew my dad would have a great reaction to it. I knew he would be okay with it. Where my mom, I knew she wasn't. But she knew what to do. And if I could go back and do it again, I really wouldn't. To be honest, I would not go back and tell my family I was pregnant. I mean, I would tell them, but I wouldn't. Because telling them I was pregnant, and going through with everything that they put me through, like the abortion clinics, that's coming in another story, but going through like the abortion clinics and the vulgar that came out of their mouth, like my mom's mouth and my birth dad's mouth, I would not go through that again. But when they finally realized, like, I would be okay as a mom, and I would get somewhere as a mom, and I would love my son to death, that was when they realized, like, I think we're okay here. But this is how I told my family that I was 17 and pregnant. Which, by the way, if you're gonna tell your family you're pregnant, do not hide it at all. Get on prenatals right away. Eat healthy for you and that baby. Because the more junk food you eat and the bigger you get in your weight, the bigger that baby's going to be. And my son was 8 pounds, 7 ounces. And I ate healthy with him. But that's because I was a big baby. So he picked up on the Italian side. But I'm going to end it here. Have a blessed night. And hope to see y'all again. Good night, y'all.